Ah, Michael, again, you arrive late. Could you ever? I mean, you would be late for your own funeral anyway, but I mean, even if you had a time machine, I doubt you could arrive on time. You are just perpetually annoying. Thank you. Thank you, my dearest ex-wife. Oh, do you know that was one of the things that really did annoy me with you? You could never, ever arrive on time or in advance. You were never early. You were always late. You were literally like the UK train system. In fact, you could run the entire train system. Thank you, darling. So, Chloe, my dearest ex-wife, someone else has hinted that you've yet again changed your diet. I mean, you're now some sort of vegan extremist that has become so devout that you're trying to impose it on everyone else. I've heard, shall we say, rumours on the grapevine that your OCDC mania has now stretched to your diet too. And you're living on some sort of cardboard biscuits and a tinsy-wincy bit of fruit. Well, I don't know who's been calling, catcalling here, but yes, I've changed my diet and I feel absolutely fantastic. Right, I suppose you'll be one of these that are constantly trying to search out, I don't know, light to try and stay alive. I mean, you look almost translucent, you're so skeletal. But at least it put a smile on your face. It stretched the skin there to an emaciated condition that you're actually smiling. I never found a way of putting a smile on your face. Maybe I should have starved you in the cellar or something. Fed you on leaves like an old, well, at that time a young, shall we say, veal calf. Yes, always the wit, isn't it? Always the wit. But you see, the problem is, Chloe, that you're always trying to, I mean, you're a doctor and you're still trying to impose your extreme views and extreme habits onto everyone else. You can't just keep them to yourself. Fortunately, you're not in the slightest bit religious, or we'd all be suffering that browbeating sort of sermon, but fortunately you're not. But, I mean, I suppose you've come out with sympathy for the cows or something like the Indians. You'll no doubt be running a few herds of cows up and down the street and bombing the butcher's shops and things, I suppose. Oh, you know, just because I, think that meat is murder, and you are the head at the fore of that, being a butcherous red meat carnivore, there's nothing wrong with me. I mean, you as a fellow species should take heed of what I'm doing and follow in my example for at least our children's sake. Do you know how much damage we're causing? Don't tell me with the flatulence of farts of cattle we're going to destroy the world. Nothing to do with you riding around in a great big 4x4. It's electric. You've got a new car. Yes, it's an electric car. Well, they're 6 times more polluting than the other one. I mean, I suppose it's not a little tiny thing, is it? You'll have something that's as big as a double-decker bus, won't you? I mean, why don't you just ride around in a John Deere tractor and pick the kids up and whatever in one of those, the biggest you can find? It's a hybrid, which is more than I can say for yours. Mine, I haven't had a car for years, darling. I don't know if you've noticed, but I can't afford one after the divorce. I can barely afford anything. Oh, here we go again. Poor starved, eh? And apart from that, I mean, I'm not being funny, but we've lived together. I know your views. You're sort of now this Buddhistic, caring, sharing, healing, spiritual-handed thing. And really, I mean, if the truth be told, every time you get a drop of drink down you want to massacre half the world. You are the biggest, well, sort of almost psychopathic ghastliness. As soon as you get some plunk down, you want to sort of bring out corporal punishment and crucify everyone along Pennypot Lane, as was the last conversation. Remember, peace to all sapiens. I still stand by that. I do think that corporal punishment is should be administered to the human being, but to try and keep it in line. And this comes from a doctor. It's you've got the hands of Harold Shipman. I can see they've. You couldn't wait to start injecting people, could you? It's a shame. You were born in the wrong era. You should have been in the 30s. You qualified for an Auschwitz guard or something, or an assistant Mengele. You're so over the top with everything, aren't you? Well, anyway, what's this about the some sort of exploding dollar here? Oh, tongues are wagging, aren't they? Well, I mean, they hardly need to wag. I can see that, you've been burnt and scorched as though you've been on fire. And someone did mention that you started to engage in a little fantasy and fetish with things of silicon, as it were. So I wonder, I'm not being funny, but it was bound to happen. It's a wonder the thing didn't kill you, isn't it? You just can't have a normal relationship. This is where we went wrong. Well, this is where we were wrong. Where we went wrong, Chloe, as I remember the 5 years of hell that you put me through, where we went wrong is you were a dominatrix that wanted to dress in jack boots and place them onto my bollocks. No? And you wanted me virtually wearing a dog collar or even a cat collar, one of your cat collars. And you wanted to, to me shuffling around on all fours, a couple of meters behind you. That's where we went wrong, because I did not want to be your little poodle. And be, treated like some sort of lowly serf. Otherwise, we'd have been fine. If I could have, worshipped. I mean, if I'd have walked around with a prayer mat and worshipped to you, then fine. So, anyway, let's get on. We don't need to go over the old ground and the rusty old chestnut. But, this doll that you had, I suppose it's... you see, this is another thing I can't understand. It's exploded and virtually blown the entire windows out of the building. I mean, some wonder you haven't burnt that block of flats of yours to the ground. So you've been messing around with a fetish and a doll. And now you're the ridicule of the entire parish. I happen to be taking comfort and sleeping. I thought I'd just try it next to a doll. Yes. This being your sort of comfort blanket. This thing with a 36 size double D chest and curves of Marilyn Monroe and and the tightest adjustable squeeze vagina for your pleasurement. That's what you call a comfort blanket, is it? Do you know, Chloe, I think you actually are quite jealous, aren't you? Jealous? I'm actually outraged that I have your ex-wife and the person that thinks quite a lot about you and our children. You are now, you've been, portrayed as this pervert who engages in chi-rubbing against some plastic doll. And it's exploded and just about, you've nearly lost an eye, you've lost all your hair and everything, and you've burnt yourself, you've singed yourself, and you're a laughingstock of the village. All right. Fantasy. I mean, can't you do anything? Why do you have to sort of engage yourself in sort of a mascophobia? It's not a mascophobia. Well, all right, a pediophobia. What are you getting? As I say, so it was just giving me comfort to sleep next to. A likely story. A likely story. You've probably got a gallon of KYD gel in there and you'll be wearing some sort of... You'll be masquerading as either Batman or Robin or both. Why would you think I do that? Because, Michael, you are a sexual void. You're like Adolf. Adolf Hitler was a sexual void. He was the strangest man. And you can tell so much by someone's sexuality. We have got 2 children, remember? Yes, but we almost had to splint yours into position with a couple of lollipop sticks and some rubber bands, didn't we? And then we had to go through such extreme dreadfulness to actually get a tinsiest, tiny bit of juice from you, which it's a wonder you produced. Thank you. But we do have 2 beautiful children, and thank you. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, all these people, you know, they were sexual voids. Adolf Hitler and Salvador Dali, they all went through what you're going through, and they didn't do anything about it. And they went from sort of torturing dolls and things, and torturing and hating and then they moved on to mass murder. Well, not Salvador Dali, but then again, but all dictators have this sort of thing, this sort of silicon sadomasochistic delinquency. Right, thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. And you don't think that your domineering, bombastic attitude may have sort of brought about any sort of, shall we say, what? Well, if the best person to ever bring on a feeble, cock? Yes, darling. There's no possible way could anyone ever get an erection with you, could they? Because you've brutalized them all day long. How could you possibly feel sexually attracted to you in any way, shape or form by the time you've tongue-lashed everyone and flayed them to a raw wreck of a human being? Oh, so it's my fault that you can't even, raise the tinsiest, winciest flag. Yes, it is really, yes. I mean, if I'd have mothered you, you still wouldn't have been able to do it. You don't realise that this, I keep telling you, this all stems from your mater and pater. It's not really anything to do with me. Yes, it is. Because you are just like my mother. I didn't realise. She had contracted my father into marriage and then turned into this most god-awful, bombastic dominatrix from this tiny little person that was, you wouldn't say boo to a goose, and then became this horrendous, brutal thing. And he himself, has never had an erection since. He openly admitted to me once shrunken, apart from he could barely speak with fear, due to my mother, and that he'd never even been able to masturbate whilst, for the 26 years that they were together. He never even was able to masturbate, and you almost had me doing the same thing. Did I indeed? So it's all our faults, is it? And that you want to vent your vindictive spleen onto these plastic, feminine, fetishes, dolls. I mean, why has it got to be a small feminine doll? It's not small. It's not small. It weighs 150 pounds. Well, it's a wonder he hasn't fallen down the stairs and killed you when you... But, what you girls don't seem to understand is that your Amazonian tribe, can quite easily crush and damn anything, let alone an erection. Oh, it's always, we're to blame, are we? Well, look at the lionesses. They were saying the other day, the guys at the curry night, we were having a chat, and we thought, the lionesses, good God, the English male lion team, the lion rugby team wouldn't take them on for money. They'd get ripped to bits. So when you're telling me how fragile and sort of delicately domesticated you are and all that crap, it's utter rubbish. That only comes to play, this damsel in distress, when you need someone to pay for something, or, especially when in finance. Then, of course, you become this weakling that can't even open its own purse to pay for anything. That's when it's a damsel in distress syndrome. And, oh, you do talk utter rubbish. And this, this is your excuse for this hideous, disgusting, perverted obsession with screwing plastic dolls. This is the only thing you can bring forth, that we have created it. The women have created you. We created all these weaklings that can't even, that that are terrified of a vagina, that are so terrified